Hello, I'm Bert Oliver, and welcome to Bowie News and Views. And today, John Ross, our co-host, co-anchor, and just getting back from Maine travels, will introduce our guest. John?
Well, thank you, Bert, and it's always a pleasure to be with you, of course. I have to say that out of diplomacy. We have a...
Bigger than he is.
At the, he may not like this, but we have an old-timer with us today. Former County Councilman Richard Castaldi, who was married to the very, very famous Ann Bubbles Castaldi. I had to get that in, I'm sorry.
Thank you, John. I know she'll appreciate that.
I thought she might. I thought she might. Richard, it's been a long time. When, in heaven's name, were you on the county council?
I got elected to the county council on, I guess, January. I started serving January '82.
'82.
And
Wow.
I served for 3 terms.
3 terms.
3 terms, 4-year terms. So 94, I guess it is.
Wow.
That was before the term limits.
Well, that was when term limits. I was serving during the term limit fiasco when that came in, and we were all term limited through our
That's a
tenure.
long time, 12 years?
It's a long time. It's a long time. A lot of changes.
Yeah. And you and Aunt Agatha never got along.
Aunt Agatha, I liked Aunt Agatha. John, you know, you were a little...
Oh, okay. Well, we have...
Aunt Agatha, I always got along with the ladies pretty well.
Okay.
Well, I remember when Richard was first running, the first ad I saw was Dick Castaldi in the ads. And then all of a sudden, Ann, I think, says, hey, they might think you're like Dick Lowe. So you should be Richard Castaldi. Maybe she was one that influenced Richard.
No, that was a problem that I had in politics, and it first developed. I was called Dick Castaldi through Park and Planning, and I had 20 years at Park and Planning, and everyone called me Dick. But when I got elected to the Greenbelt City Council, there was a Dick Pilsky.
That's right.
And so I had to change my name because I was the young whippersnapper coming on.
I think Richard sounds better anyway.
And yeah, and over here, you had Dick, you know, Logue.
Dick Logue.
So I had to, you know, so Richard was fine.
Well, there was some intellectual decision about that. Sounds good.
Yeah, that's...
And I think, speaking of Greenbelt, you were city council there, and you were mayor, weren't you?
Correct.
And your father was mayor one time, right?
No, I was the first. I was the first person to stumble into politics.
Oh, is that right?
Yes.
And you made the most of it.
Well, I enjoyed it. It was something that I was hesitant about going into.
Yeah.
But I enjoyed the time and service, both on the working for Park and Planning, on the city council, on the county council, and even served 10 years on the Metro Board.
Well, those were the days when the Park and Planning Commission wasn't unpopular in Bowie. Today, it's anathema.
Well, there's been a lot of changes, John, and I've been following you on Patch and on some of the other networks.
Yeah,
and,
right.
And yeah, there's been a lot of changes. Not all for the good.
No. Well, at least Senator Doug Peters got us some money back from the taxes we pay. Because my house now is worth $100,000 less than it was, but it's still appraised for the same damn amount. So the tax, I guess, got to change that. But down to you. Do you keep observing the political scene?
I try to keep my eye on what's going on, both locally and also nationally.
That's depressing, isn't it?
Yeah, it's been. I'm glad I'm out. The rancor and
it's awful.
Just become unbearable.
Totally polarized, and these crazy teabaggers and. Ugh.
Well, it's just that no one wants to work together, and everyone's trying to outdo everybody.
And we're talking about the political elected people you're talking about now.
Yeah. That's right.
Right, and not the opposition so much. The opposition is
what are you
not as
talking about?
I'm talking about the elected people he's talking about.
Yeah, well, the teabaggers are elected too.
Teabaggers?
Some of them are, yes, absolutely. Some of them are teabaggers, some of our Republican friends of yours.
You mean elected officials?
We, by the way, oppose each other politically as far as you could be.
Well, the Rancor thing I was interested in because
it's too much of it.
And you're an observer there, and I think being close to Washington, Richard, we're more observant than a lot of people because you almost see people regularly. You can that are like Steny Hoyer often in Bowie, and You think a lot on that. I think so. We think more on that than a person in Atlanta would or Dallas, because you don't see what's going on locally.
Yeah.
We're in one of the states that's considered a depression-free state for years. It's changing.
Gee, I think some of the unemployed people might be surprised at that.
7-8% now in the state. But in the metro region, Northern Virginia, and Maryland close to D.C. is probably less than 5%.
Yes.
Yeah, well, they're rich.
Well, I think they have the government flow from being
Precisely.
right in the government of Washington, D.C. with all of the spin-off and jobs and contracts and stuff that come out of that. But you're blessed here in this area, and we're blessed because we seem to have, when you look across the spectrum of all of the political folks that are out there, we have some top-notch. I mean, you talked about J.J. Peters.
Right.
I mean, locally here, you know, that's really great.
I agree.
You have a good government in your local Bowie City Council and the mayor.
Oh,
here.
no question about that.
I mean, top-notch.
No, it's the county I find appalling.
And in the county, I'm hoping with the new changes that have occurred, Rashern Baker, I have great hopes for him, and he's got a tough job ahead of him, though. He's
got a real tough job. He's got to hire the right people. He needs somebody to clean house.
Well, I'm hoping what he'll do is he'll do some of the same things he did when he was down on the legislature. When he
was chairman,
he put a group together in the delegates to study the school issue, and came up with a good, constructive approach to solving some of those problems there and the funding problems that were affected by that. Here, I'm hoping what he'll do is he'll bring in a task force to look at all the departments across the board and see where their strengths and weaknesses are, and then bring some top people in to head those departments and turn it around, because we have some serious problems that have occurred and festered over the last 8 years.
Yes,
including, like I say, park and planning. That needs some change. And
it's overpopulated.
Oh, yeah. And that's another thing that I've noticed over the years, and the county executives, they come in, and when you went into office, literally during that term.
Who's county executive when you went in?
Paris Glendale.
Paris. Oh, I like Paris.
That was his first term. Your first term was the same as his. Paris and I talked a lot, but I noticed a great increase in employees in the county during that first 4 years he had. And I've kind of wondered why was it such a necessary increase. And I'm thinking now, like hopefully you are with Rashern Baker, that he'll analyze the efficiency of the departments with someone who knows what the heck they're doing.
It's got to be somebody who is independent and will make those cuts, suggest those cuts, don't you think?
I think he's the kind of elected official who he's bright.
Oh, yeah.
He's talented. Now, he may not have a lot of the managerial experiences from a standpoint of a county executive, but he's smart enough.
Well, Johnson didn't.
Of course he didn't. But Rashern is smart enough to hire people or surround himself with people who know how to manage and give him the advice that's needed to straighten out some of these issues in departments of licenses and permits, the police, we
Sheriff's Department.
Sheriff's, the health department. I mean, that hospital situation is still hanging there.
I know it.
And that affects Bowie an awful lot.
Of course it does, and it's been going on forever.
I think he'll do what's right, and I'm hoping that he will put some of those people together to do a study, a white paper, or something to bring it up.
And then he's got to enforce it.
And
I think he can.
Sure. I have a lot of confidence in him. I think, too, he's got to have, and things have changed somewhat in the delegation that was going to Annapolis. There's been 2 changes, 2 senators have changed. And he knows how to handle that, too, working with people going to now. And that's essential, too, in his term. Just what he can do, man, he's got his hands full because, as you know, there's a lot of people there that are going to have to, that might not stay anyway, and his opportunity to change them might be that not his doing. So who he does bring in has got to also expand him with whatever, and we're talking about the management, but also the dealing with the political codes.
Well, I have faith in
that
him.
go from Prince George's to Annapolis.
And I normally don't have faith in politicians.
Sometimes it's good to just start out with a real airing to the public, so that you open up the door, have a lot of transparency, and say, I want every department head to submit their resignation. We're going to do a study of their departments, and then they're going to come in and interview. And then we'll have some experts analyze their departments in a 60 or 90-day period, and then they'll come back in and say, here are the strengths of the department, here are the weaknesses of the department, and you tell me how, if I hire you back, how you're going to fix this. And that would be important to do, not only from the public perception, but for him to get kind of the hold he needs on all of these departments that have been running really their own show, doing all kinds of crazy stuff without any oversight.
Oh, it's absurd. It's really, and his press aid department is useless. When you were serving on the county council, did you have 5 staff members like these new ones do?
No.
No, they increased slowly over the ages.
Yeah, I think everything's increased. I had basically my administrative assistant, who we now call Bubbles fondly.
Yes.
And I call my wife.
Yeah.
And I had one other staff person. That was it.
You have the same staff that our state senator has.
Right.
And these people have 5 staff members. It's absolutely ludicrous.
Yeah. Well, maybe that'll change.
I hope so.
Take some initiative.
And they, in each of them, as you know, they have these little contingency funds. And they're handing out money all over town. Our county councilwoman gives everybody these little grants. Hey, wait a minute. This county's in a financial mess. What the heck are you doing?
Well, we're hoping that if everyone comes together, I don't think we had that much change on the county council. I think we only had, what, 4 new members?
Yeah.
All right.
And I know they just changed the council administrator too. So you're going to have a lot of, upstarts to try to, get their handle on, where the bodies are buried, what's going on, how to run. So that's going to be a little bit more difficult because you have a new administrator and you're going to have some new council members, but the 5 that are there are going to be running roughshod over the newcomers in.
Are trying
no doubt
Or
about
trying
it.
to,
Well,
yes.
Yeah.
You're right, trying to. They definitely will if they are allowed to.
Yeah.
But there has got to be a change, and you change it. If we always hear politics are local, and if they can't, and that's been ignored.
Totally
A
ignored.
great deal.
Yeah.
All the way around, not just.
Well, we had
in
all
the
these
county.
shady politicians that, one serves on the school board and gets nailed for using a credit card for going to Disney World, and then where she end up? On the county council.
Well,
I think that person is now the Court of Wills.
Court of Wills or some damn thing.
Clerk of Court, maybe.
I don't know what the hell she is. Well, at least they got rid of Nat Exum.
yeah, that's right. Nat's gone.
Valerio.
Valerio's gone.
Yeah.
Also, I think isn't Harrington? Is Harrington?
Harrington's gone.
Is Harrington
You're right.
on?
Yeah, and he had a pretty savvy start.
I don't know him very well.
He was a former mayor of Bladensburg, then went on to the. I think there was a vacancy, and then he ran for that.
Oh,
appointed.
okay. Well, Exum was a total disaster on top of being totally obnoxious.
Yeah.
15.
And Valerio, and I shouldn't say this, but I know the legislation that actually he was championing, and he literally was being paid by the teachers union in Montgomery County on their payroll. And this was naturally something that was good for them. And I think people remembered that because it was publicized in the Post. And I talked to Doug Peters about it. But you just don't do that.
No, you don't do that. No,
without saying, look, I won't deal with this legislation. But unbelievable. So the state's still having a lot of that problem. We're talking about the county a lot here because that's where you're obviously.
Well, nor does a county executive fly all over the world at our cost, up front of the plane to countries. One of the last countries he visited, its most famous attribute is trafficking in humans. Now, what were we going to do? Bring in a trafficking of humans business to one of our industrial parks? That was ridiculous.